So the first question for you that I have today, Sir Wahaj, is that what do you think educational inequality is in your opinion?
Well, education inequality actually comes from social inequality.
Yeah,
It's a outgrowth of social inequality. Social inequality, as you know, that there's almost in Pakistan, especially, we have seven socioeconomic classes.
yeah,
And every class has its own source of income or means of earning, and ultimately they have their own ways of expenses. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, this is a very fragile socioeconomic class, and the social mobility is very less. Like if you are somewhere in the middle, maybe you are upper middle class, you wish to move to the elite class, naturally, there is always the hindrances. So social mobility is stuck. Since Pakistan is a developing country for the last couple of decades, so I think that this social inequality has created a wedge and created a gulf among different classes.
yeah,
The rich is getting richer and the
yeah,
poor is
yeah,
getting
yeah,
poorer. So the gulf has increased in the last 3 to 4 decades, so to say, specifically in 2000, especially,
uh-huh,
in the last 2 decades, it has really widened. Now, since the wedge, the gulf has increased, naturally, it has an impact on education per se, right?
mm-hmm,
In education, normally people come from different socioeconomic class as socioeconomic strata. Naturally, uh, people who are rich, they go to the top schools. The people who are poor, they do not have the facilities as compared to other developed countries or even developing countries,
yeah,
especially in Southeast Asia. So I think the government in Pakistan, if you know, there are uh, almost 2.5 crore students are out of school
yeah,
children,
yeah. It's I
and
think it's the
half of
second
them
highest in the
are those people who sometime, some almost 1.5 crore people are those who join the school and they drop out.
yeah,
So we need to, the government hasn't risen to the occasion. Some NGOs are still trying hard, but still the situation is more murkier, unfortunately. So this educational disparity has given rise to the educational, as you said, inequality,
inequality. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, what are the effects of educational inequality in your opinion?
Well, actually, there is always when you have when the gulf is more, when the social inequality is more intense,
Yeah.
naturally the society is divided.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, that the are getting more richer and poor are getting more poorer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, the middle class is disappears.
Yeah,
Once the middle class disappear, then naturally social mobility is lost. I mean, in most of the countries, there are always strong middle class. Like
yeah,
if you look at the Indian population, they have strong middle class. But unfortunately, in Pakistan, in the poverty line is getting upper and upper because of social uh, inequality. So this social education inequality has created more gap,
yeah.
more difference between the rich and the poor, unfortunately.
Okay.
Mm.
The third question I have for you today is that, in your opinion, do you think that technological opportunities in the school system have an advantage over the school systems that do not have those opportunities?
Well, it's very much obvious because today, especially during COVID and
Yeah,
post COVID, in even Pakistan, I must tell you one thing, that those schools who are having technology, or the people who are more pro technology, they survived Corona much better
yeah.
as compared to those schools who do not have the expertise of transition. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So many school, in my opinion or in my information, they closed down
Yeah,
almost as per an estimate. There are almost 3,000 schools shut down in Sindh,
same.
especially in the private sector,
Yeah,
and mostly those schools who were not technologically advanced, or they were quite aware of education technology.
I
So
see.
it's an obvious question that technology always helps in disseminating and making education more convenient and accessible to everybody sitting at home, and that's why a lot of platforms are being created by the school, and which make the education getting more better.
Just to
Yes.
add on question from
Hmm.
this one is that, do you think that if these school systems do not have these technological advances in the future, what would you think that they could do to catch up with the other school systems that do have these technological advances?
Well, naturally, because there are a lot of platforms which are being created to train the teachers first.
Yeah.
School always have a chance to enhance its resources.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've seen that a lot of schools are gradually getting their teachers trained,
Mm-hmm.
and they're buying equipment sometimes, and they are making their teachers learning all the gadgets. How to use, make the most of the gadgets, and planning their lectures online.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I mean, a lot of schools have already switched to it. I mean, and they're getting better and better day by day. Yes.
Yeah, because from my experience, what I have seen is that the countries abroad, other than Pakistan, Pakistan has in the education system, they have the information that they need to propel the students, but they don't have the technology that other countries have, and that's holding them back.
But yeah, here the number of internet users are more. I mean, especially in South Asia,
Yeah.
we are one of the countries where number of internet users are more. Number of people using smartphones are more. So people who have got the access of smartphone, even if not the laptops or the tabs, they still have more chances to get adapted to technology.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Okay. The next question I have for you today is how important is education in Pakistan considering the circumstances in the future?
well, education is the solution actually for all the problems which we are facing, or which we have faced in the last 75 years. Education has never been our priority, unfortunately. The government has never given it's made mandatory for as per Constitution article,
Yeah.
the fundamental right of every kid to study and go to school and go to high school.
Yes.
It is mandatory. It's contingent on government to provide education free of cost. But how many government, or how many kids are getting this facility? Very few. And even if some people even who are availing the education, their learning can be questionable. So I think education is the key to success, to keep not only it's a basic education but higher education as well. And it is not only to provide employment,
Yes.
creating employment for the future,
Yes.
for the industries,
Yeah.
and to stop the brain drain as well. A lot of people do not get opportunity in the country, they move out.
Mm-hmm.
Once they move out, your resources, you
Yeah.
lose the resources. So unfortunately, this issue is not being addressed. So education is the solution of all problems, without any shadow of doubt.
Well, okay. So a relating question to this is that what do you think our government is doing to minimize this issue?
Well, government tries sometimes. Sometimes government has a plan. Like last year, when the Imran Khan government came, they started single national curriculum, and they found the major problem in the curriculum in the whole, that we are having so many curriculum being
Yeah.
followed by public sector, private sector, by different provinces,
Uh-huh.
and they wanted to equalize or make the standards for the
Everyone.
entire countrymen, exactly. So, but they couldn't, pull it through. Unfortunately, even that was implemented where PTI was there in power. Ultimately,
Obviously.
so I mean, it was not a uniform code for all the people. So the government is trying, and government mostly tried with the help of World Bank or IMF, or not the IMF, but World Bank or Asian Development Bank, and some other interested bodies like UNESCO.
Yeah.
They actually invest in education, and they expect that every country should work on the fundamental basic education and empower the poor people, the challenged people.
Yeah, of course. The next question is that if you had the opportunity to move your kids abroad to have the education of the countries abroad, would you or would you not?
Well, if you want my honest answer, then of course yes.
Yeah.
Every parent wants their kids to be studied in a top education environment. If certain country which offers better education, then why not? Yes, by all means.
Okay.
Uh,
So the last question I have for you today is that what do you think as students we can do to minimize this issue? As minimize, not obviously we can't do such a large scale thing because we are only such a small group of people, but we can obviously try. We can try to minimize the situation.
well, actually, the first thing is start the debate. You must raise the awareness.
Yeah.
There's that social inequality is there, education inequality is there. And as a kid, as a a grown-up kid, I mean, naturally you have a huge responsibility. I mean,
Mhm.
you must make this a topic of discussion
Yes.
when once you interact with your own, of your people of your own age.
Yeah.
You must organize events, seminars, to make the awareness. Because if you start making people aware of it, naturally, 5 years, maybe 10 years down the road, this change might come. The equality, this inequality may turn into equality.
Yeah.
And social cohesion will be more intense.
Yeah.
So it's, I think, a huge responsibility on your shoulders.
Obviously, we'll try our best in this project and in the future afterwards too. So that is all for today. I thank you for your time, Sir Wahaj.
Okay, no problem. What's your name?
Sadhu Sen.
Saad Hussain. And yours?